Welcome to the Leaderish Podcast, leadership lessons straight up, with your hosts, Dr. Jen and Regina. Hey, Jen, how's it going?
Hey, Regina. I'm great. You know why?
Tell me.
Because we're recording episode 3.
Yes, we are.
So before we really get into that, I have to tell you something hilarious.
Okay.
So I don't know if I've told you this before, but Tom is a sleep talker and he says the craziest things while he's asleep, has no recollection of it whatsoever. And I just have to share this because it's hilarious. So last night I told him to roll over and he looked straight at me and said, "Well, aren't you a needy little Molly Pockets?" Rolled over and went right back to sleep. What is that?
A needy little Molly Pockets.
I have no idea what Molly Pockets is. He doesn't know what it is. I told him and he didn't believe me at first.
I love that. That is absolutely hilarious. Thank you for sharing that, Molly Pockets.
Ridiculous. So how are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I think I'm excited that we have continued this journey and we're continuing on this journey. And we've met a lot of really cool people recently.
It's amazing the encouragement that we've gotten. We just met with someone who's going to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
And another meeting later. It's kind of amazing the people that are excited about it. It's great.
Yeah, like new friends.
Yeah.
I love
Incredible.
new friends.
Don't we all? Well, it is now time for, I know I say this every time, but it's the drink of the day. So Regina, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a lovely Pinot Grigio in a wine glass that says, "Because kids."
And I know that you feel that today.
I do indeed. I believe that I just asked my son if he was bleeding, and if he wasn't, he needed to leave the house.
I heard that. I definitely heard that before we started today. And I know moms everywhere are feeling that way, specifically because they're quarantined with their children. And it's been a year now. And I'm quarantined with my barking child as well, who you can hear in the background.
Yeah. She gets passionate, man. I mean,
she's really proud of us.
Yeah, she is. She is. And she wants to be heard. Like, let's let her be heard.
You know what, Bella? You go, girl. Tomorrow's International Women's Day.
Yeah.
And she's trying to get her voice out there.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of getting your voice out there, today we are taking all of the research that we went through in our last episode for Women in the Workplace, the McKinsey study, and we're going to talk about some practical advice that we can leverage based on that data, and really specifically about women in the workplace.
Yes, that data that we talked about last time, again, didn't mean to rain on anyone's parade, or it is a relatively grim picture. There goes Bella. But now let's talk about what you can do about it, because there are some really important and impactful things that you can do. And Regina, you forgot to ask me what I was drinking. And I'm really excited about this practical advice, but I would like for you to ask me what I'm drinking, because it's leadership lessons straight up.
Jen, would you please tell me what you are drinking?
I would be happy to. Thank you so much for asking. So Tom has a friend that's like a fancy drink maker, and he made this fancy syrupy stuff that you put in a drink, and it's called Fascianola. There's all kinds of things in it, like spices and all sorts of things, but you actually use it to make sort of a rum old fashioned, where you put in tiki bitters, Fascianola. I'm probably butchering that, but it's Fascianola right now. Orange peel and rum. And it's quite delicious. It's like an old fashioned with a like tiki-ish flavor to it.
Oh, it sounds...
If tiki were a flavor.
It sounds delicious.
Why, thank you
And
for asking.
I'd like to offer my apology for not asking you what you're drinking, especially since it's so fancy.
Apology accepted.
All
Now we can
right.
talk about practical advice and what you can do about all of the data that we just talked about.
Awesome.
So, for the leadership lessons
Hmm.
straight up, Regina, what are some of the lessons that you took away?
Yeah, and I'd like to kind of even bring this back into my own life as well too. When you have a team member or maybe you have a project that comes to your team and you need someone to take that project, I think in the past as a leader, I would just say, "Hey, Fred, we've got this new project coming in. Think it would be a great fit for you. I'd really love for you to lead this project. You're going to nail it. Let me know what you need." Right? I think one of the lessons that I have learned during the pandemic is to change that narrative a bit. And instead of saying, "Hey, Fred, you're going to be great for this, let's do it," to say, "Hey, Fred, what's your bandwidth look like right now?"
That's amazing and could seem very small, but that's huge.
It's a big impact. And to allow your team to say, "Yes, I can take that on," or "I need 24 hours to think about that," allowing them the ability to choose. And I know we don't always have a choice, but I think people respond better if they have a choice in it. And they're able to think through, okay, what do I need to arrange? The other thing that I've learned is if they're like, "That's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for me to add that." The other thing I've learned is to ask, "What can we take off your plate?"
That's great. Or help them prioritize.
I like to do this exercise where we talk about the value and the effort. So we rank the different items, tasks, projects that a team member is doing, and we rank the level of effort from low to high, and we rank the value to the business low to high. If it is high effort and low value, it's gone.
Forget it. Also reminds me of Stephen Covey, Seven Habits, about the urgency and important quadrant as well. If it's urgency is a whole nother discussion. But yes, I love that model. And there's complexity you can think about as
Yeah.
well. But that model is great. I'm going to borrow with
Oh,
intention.
wonderful. Well, it's super simple and like just easy to kind of list out, do your lows and highs for both spectrums. And then if it is low value, but it's going to take a lot of effort, it's not what we should be working on right now, especially in the middle of a pandemic. Maybe it's after a pandemic if we ever get out of a pandemic. I don't know if that happens. It's my first
Someday,
pandemic here.
someday. I know it's our first pandemic. Give us a break. We don't
Yeah.
know. But I love that because think about how you spend your 8 to 10 or more hours working,
Mm-hmm.
whenever that is. How much of what you're working on is low
Yeah.
value? Really analyze it. Now you're getting me into time management, which is a favorite topic of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to go on a tangent, but think about how you're spending your day, what you're spending your time on, and what value is it to you and to the organization.
Draw the boundaries around that. Know how you're spending your time, know that the time you're spending is value add, and be okay with the boundary you set around that.
I love that. Boundaries. Another great book by Dr. Henry Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
What other leadership lessons did you take away or can you add to this conversation?
Yeah, I think the last one that I might say is that really the bottom line, and Mackenzie calls this out too, right? The bottom line is that when employees believe that their senior leaders are supportive of their flexibility needs, they are less likely to consider downshifting their career or leaving the workplace. That tells me as a leader, that's part of your job. If you want your team members to stay, if you don't want them to downshift, if you want them to continue to grow, make sure that they know you 100% support flexibility. And it's about getting the work done, not when and where the work gets done.
Absolutely. And I think even if I think of my own experience, when that has happened to me, which it has, and I'm very thankful, you just breathe a sigh of relief.
Mm-hmm.
The stress just goes away. You still have a lot to do, but you have the flexibility to not worry about exactly when it gets done or what that day looks like, I guess.
I want to share this with you because I want everyone to understand that leadership comes at all levels. Um, a, a woman who reports to me had I had reached out to her. I wasn't able to support her during a meeting. My house was going nuts. My kids were off of school for the week because of the pandemic. So they were at home. I was trying to work. I was trying to support her in a meeting, which I normally do reasonably well. And I wasn't even able to add value because of everything going on in my house. And I called her after the meeting and I actually broke down in tears. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I couldn't support you. And she said, you know what? I had it. And if I can support you right now the way you've supported me, it's all going to be okay.
That literally gave me
It
goosebumps.
was,
That is what it's all
that is
about.
what it's all about. And if you are a woman and you are listening right now and you feel like you are not supporting the other women or you won't do that for another woman, in the workplace, I want you to really consider what you're doing. I want you to consider how lifting other women up and caring for the other women around you is so important if we are going to continue to grow in our leadership ranks. We bring each other up.
This is that well said. Also reminds me of one of my favorite memes or quotes, or I don't know what you want to call it, but there is a special place in hell for women that don't help other women.
I love it.
And that is even more true right now. Sort of the opposite of what you just said. You brought the inspiration and I brought the cynical humor, but it works and it's all true.
I love it. I love
From
it.
my own experience and from researching all 3 years, or at least 3 of the 6 years of the McKinsey research, I have a couple lessons as
Yeah.
well. They go right along with yours. One is be an ally. McKinsey uses that word ally, and I love it. So even if you're listening and you're not a woman, how can you help and support the women around you, the women that work with you, the women in your family? How can you help and support them? And Bella's getting real excited about this one as well
Mm-hmm.
because it's a good one. Be an ally. The flexibility piece, let your team and coworkers know that they are empowered to choose their own flexibility as long as it works. I also really related to this always on
Mm.
component of the research.
Yes.
It's exhausting. We know that Zoom is exhausting. We know that being, sitting in one spot and being in virtual calls, video calls all day, every day is exhausting. And so allow your team to not have to always be on, whether that is, hey, on Fridays, it's no video day. Turn your camera off. Or, hey, on certain meetings, like let's turn our cameras off and allow each other just to take a breath for a minute. So I loved that. And that also extends to you don't have to respond to everything right away. I really love it. And Bella,
She
gosh,
is
she's
in
just so
it right
excited
now.
about this.
Yes.
She is in it.
Yes.
She's
She's
with me,
passionate.
even though the door is shut and she's downstairs. So it also extends to, I love when people do this. They'll send an email because they have bandwidth or time at 10 o'clock at
Mm.
night, but they'll say, hey, don't worry about this until tomorrow. Please, no response needed until later this week or next week, but blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it really, I've tried to use that practice as well because it gives freedom to say, oh, my boss is emailing me, or an SVP is emailing me, or somebody is asking me for something. And I'm like snuggled up in my pajamas, and it lets me know, oh, I don't have to get out of bed right now
Mm-hmm.
to respond to this request because they've given me permission not to. So if you're a leader out there, it's fine if the time that you have is midnight or 6 a.m. or whatever that looks like for you. But make sure when you're sending a request that your team is thinking, they need to respond to that. So set boundaries there and give them permission as
Love
well.
that.
The last thing I took away was something that I've received a lot this year, which is just give
Mm.
grace. And I love that. Be empathetic, give grace to your team. Normally what might annoy you or be frustrating, or why can't this person get this done on time? Just remember there's a lot going on. We don't all have that psychological safety that you hear people talk a lot about right now, because people are stressed, people are worried, people are afraid. And then on top of that, they're maybe taking care of their parents, they're taking care of kids, they're trying to work. So just keep that perspective of everything that people are trying to do right now, and just extend and receive grace
Mm-hmm.
as you go about your week, your month, the last year, the year to come,
Oh,
all of that.
if you could choose one thing that the folks listening to us can do in the next 24 hours, what would it be?
I would say think of someone in particular that you want to informally sponsor or advocate for or look out for. If you're a leader, maybe that's every woman on your team that you're going to intentionally focus on how they're
Mm-hmm.
doing. If you're not a leader of people per se, think about someone that you know at work, in your community, wherever, that might benefit from somebody advocating for them just a little bit. What about you, Regina?
I would say when you are talking to your team members within the next 24 hours, you ask them about what's adding the most value and what's sucking the most time. And let's figure out if there is room to create a little bit more space, especially for your team members who feel overworked, overburdened, disengaged, have are balancing way too many things.
And they're, like you said earlier, they may be spending a lot of effort on something that's not important anymore.
Mm-hmm. A lot has changed.
Yes, a lot of what is important has changed in the last year, and that very well could free up a lot of space and a lot of emotional energy as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So, tell me a woman that you
We've
admire.
painted a very grim picture today of things weren't so great before the pandemic. Now we had a pandemic. Actually, we still have a pandemic. And so, in honor of International Women's Month, I have actually been thinking about this a lot. And I have chosen two,
Mm-hmm.
and I just can't help myself. It's Dolly Parton and Oprah Winfrey. And you might think they don't have a lot in common, but they both came from hard upbringings, didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
They both worked really hard against a lot of odds to get where they were. And once they got there, they have spent their entire careers helping other women and giving back. And I'm such a nerd, I'm getting goosebumps while I'm talking about this. But I mean, for goodness sakes, Dolly funded part of the vaccine research.
Mm-hmm.
When a tornado ripped through Nashville last year, she donated a ton of money to that. Oprah has built schools in other countries to empower young
Yes.
women. What they have done for the next generation of women and those now is just staggering. And that is absolutely what inspires me. I've read both of their, I mean, I think they each have more than one book, but I've read their books, and
Mm-hmm.
Oprah's book, What I Know for Sure, is amazing. And if you get the audio version, Bella agrees with me. If you get the audio version, Oprah reads it herself. And it's just so inspiring to listen to her sharing kind of her leadership life lessons that she's learned. And I learned a lot
Mm-hmm.
from that book as well. So those two. And they both have a Nashville and Tennessee connection as well. So
That's
I love
right.
that too. So Regina, what about you? Who inspires you?
So mine is super personal. I've had a mentor for, I think I decided about 8 years. I believe I was pregnant with my 7-year-old, who's now 7 years old. I think I was pregnant with Oliver when she became my mentor. And I remember our first conversation, I just kind of unloaded a lot of um, really hormone filled statements on her because I was pregnant and I was telling her about the pregnancy. I was telling her about my journey to get to being pregnant, which was quite a journey. One day we can chat about that too. And then also discussing that I was getting ready to move across the country, and all of this came flooding out in what was supposed to be a getting to know you call.
She got to know you.
Seven She sure did. 8 years later, she is still the one that I go to. She is the human that I call when I need to bounce ideas off of or figure out if something is right for me. She is the one that I go to for advice. And she is a very high level leader in healthcare now. She's been in a few different areas and has a very, very big job and always has time for me.
That's fantastic. Let's endeavor
Mhm.
to be women that inspire people that much to the women around us as well. And I love that story.
Yes.
And I love hormone filled statements. That is hilarious and so true.
Oh,
I love
Jen.
it.
Oh, so true.
I
So
love it.
true.
So
And she handled it with so much grace and so much dignity.
that's one of those conversations where you go, okay, we have a lot to talk about, exactly like she did.
That's what she did.
That is
Absolutely.
awesome. I love it. So,
Mhm.
the last segment, what are you doing to fill your cup lately? Because it's so important as leaders, especially in a pandemic, as we have discussed.
Look, I'm going to make a confession first. I haven't had a haircut in probably 8 months. And when I did go get a haircut 8 months ago, I went to a butcher. And I am pleased to say that today I filled my cup by having a professional cut my
And
hair.
it looks good, I must say.
Thanks, girl. I appreciate
I
you.
can feel your new haircut energy, coming
Mm,
across today.
it feels so
I
good.
love it. I am getting mine done later today too. Um,
It's haircut day.
but hashtag pandemic, you haven't gotten it done in 8 months. So that's a big deal.
Mm, yeah.
So for me, I I was just thinking about this earlier today. In the beginning of the pandemic, we were sort of friends with our neighbors. We live downtown Nashville. We live on a street, a row of townhomes, and we sort of knew a couple of our neighbors, but not all of them. And when the pandemic started, I mean, the world was on lockdown for 6 or 8 weeks. You barely could go to the grocery store, and you were even afraid to do that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so we got in our common area. We socially distanced with lawn chairs and brought a beverage straight up, and we had a great time. Since the beginning of the pandemic, that cadence of hanging out increased a lot. We celebrated every major holiday together. We celebrated every minor holiday together. We made up holidays. We had fake horse races with involving like
Wow.
water guns. And we this evening are starting a neighborhood poker night. And so that is what
Nice.
I am doing to fill my cup. But those people have filled my cup during the entire pandemic. And it's just brought us all together and been a really, really great surprise during such a challenging time.
Yeah, here for neighbors that I didn't know before the pandemic that now I wouldn't trade for the world.
Exactly. Cheers to that.
Cheers to
And
that.
to women in the workplace and International Women's Month.
Absolutely.